Hi, y'all. Well, it's very good to be here tonight, this morning, whatever time it is. And I want y'all to know that this is a very exciting time. It is a real honor for my sweetheart and me to be here. Where did she go? Oh, she was hiding. Okay. So, just, this is the night of the bride, and I want to point out that Tuesday, my sweetheart and I will be celebrating our anniversary. And marriage is not easy. It really isn't. She doesn't always understand me, and I don't always understand her. She told me not too long ago, she said, I need you to go to the store, and I need you to get a carton of milk. I said, okay. So I was walking out the door. Before I quite got to the door, she said, remember, a carton of milk. If they have eggs, get 12. So I came home with 12 cartons of milk. She said, what's the matter for you? And I said, well, they had eggs. So I figured I would just kind of do what she said, So, yeah, marriage is not always easy, but neither is betrothal. And I'll tell you, I was really very concerned when Rabbi Shapiro called me and talked to me about this. Immediately it came to my mind what I was going to speak on, and I thought, oh, no, that's not going to fit. And yet, by everything I've heard tonight, it's like, well, maybe it will. Maybe it will. So, betrothal is not an easy thing. You know what? Betrothal was not easy? Because you're under somebody else's authority and you're still living in your father's house. I won't say that again. You belong to somebody else, but you're not living in his house. So betrothal is not an easy thing. So to kind of set everything up, I want to ask everybody a question. When Passover gets here, before the week is gone, how many of you are already thinking about Shavuot? Nobody? Okay. So when Shavuot gets here, how many of you already kind of have it in your mind, well, Rosh Hashanah's coming pretty soon. And then when we get to Rosh Hashanah, we go to thinking about, am I the only one who does this? Okay, well, I just kind of thought I might be the odd one in here. So we always have this thing about looking forward. We're in a certain time, but we're always looking to something else. Now, I'm going to stay close to my notes because I'll chase rabbits. So, Shavuot comes along, and we wait for Rosh Hashanah. We get so excited about, Rosh Hashanah's coming. We're going to hear the sounding of the shofar. We're going to have ice cream sandwiches and stuff like that, and it's going to be really good. But in between, you've got this long, hot summer. And other than Shabbats, there are no really big special days that come along. And just maybe that gets to be a difficult time because we're looking forward to something really good, but we got to wait. And it's hot, and it's tiring, and we got to wait and just don't like it a whole lot. The bad thing about waiting is it reveals things about us. I don't like waiting. I don't think most of us like waiting. Look at what happened when Israel had to wait at Sinai. Moshe went up on top of Sinai for 40 days. Don't think he's coming back. What's the matter for him? Maybe a mountain lion got him. Next thing you know, they lost sight of why Moses was up there to begin with. Think about Saul. Samuel told him, you wait for me. I will be here. He didn't do such a good job of waiting. And we know what happened in both cases. Waiting can reveal weakness. Weakness can bring turmoil, and turmoil can bring fear. Because now, look at what a mess we've made, and what are we going to do about it? And even at that, when that fear comes along and it stays, God still shows himself to be merciful. Isaiah chapter 6. There was Isaiah God pulled back the veil of time and space, and he cried out, I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people who are unclean also. They have unclean lips. And yet, God still called him to go and speak to Israel. Now, at this time of the year, we always read Song of Songs during Passover. I like it for the counting of the Omer too. I reread it because it's very exciting to me. And we all know that Song of Songs is about God's relationship with Israel as a bridegroom and the bride. And sages point that out. And of course, then we think about the book of Hosea 2 about the bride and the bridegroom, Israel being the bride. And I want to quote something from Song of Songs, and it's probably not going to be the one you're thinking. It's chapter 2, verse 16, my beloved is mine, and I am his. Well, that's something that we're all familiar with. God shows his love to us. He shows his kindness to us despite our faults. Faults are one thing. But what about when we get tired of waiting and we have a golden calf experience in our lives? Maybe it's not to that extent. Maybe we find ourselves like Saul, waiting for Samuel to come back, and we just get tired of waiting, and we go ahead and strike out and do what we want to do. Faults are one thing, but a searing conscience is a whole different matter. It really starts eating away at us, and it hurts. Well, King Asaph wrote in Psalm 73:1, God is good to Israel, to the pure in heart. But then I have to ask the question, what does my conscience say? Because my conscience tells me I don't have really good standing with him. So he loves us. He's very kind despite our weaknesses and faults. But Jeremiah also says that the heart is wicked. Who can know it? Now that's pretty hard. And it's really easy. Now I'm not going to ask how many of you feel this way, because I'm going to assume I'm probably going to be the only one. But I also find that I'm in pretty good company, because we remember what Paul said. Yeah, I don't do too well either. He said that he struggles with feeling acceptable. In Romans chapter 11, bound to the old nature. I don't understand my own behavior. I don't do what I want to do, but what I do is what I hate. And then I'll add to that, when I do what I hate, I end up hating myself. And that's just the truth. So we condemn ourselves, and in the midst of condemning ourselves, we find ourselves disqualified. I'll never forget when we left Houston. Thank God he let us leave Houston, and we moved back home. And he spoke to me and said, do not disqualify yourself. Just out of nowhere, and I thought, what's that all about? Well, I did not know that we were going to be opening Kehilat Beit Simcha, which has now passed also, not around anymore. But it was a good experience, glad that we had it. But at the same time, I condemned myself. I blamed myself. I disqualified myself because of my conscience. So when you do that, you go to thinking, if I'm such a wretch, why should I be working for the kingdom of God? Because I don't feel worthy. God can't use me because I'm such a creep. Well, in Bamidbar 5, it talks about the soda. This is the wife who's been accused of being unfaithful. And the word unfaithful there, I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tangled. I'm tired. Tongue-tangled. The word unfaithful there is malah, which means inappropriate behavior. Well, guess what? Inappropriate behavior has got my name all over it. Transgression has got my name all over it. And I find myself feeling very, very guilty. I have transgressed. I've most definitely demonstrated inappropriate behavior as we were driving out here. It's like these big 18-wheelers just won't get out of the way. Move. Used to be the ones, they'd run you over. So, I'm guilty. And I remember what Yaakov says. If you're guilty in breaking one part of the Torah, you're guilty of all of it. And I swear, I know I'm not Jewish, but my mother had to be. Because I grew up with this idea that I'm guilty of everything. One year, she bought me 2 sweaters for Hanukkah. Next time I went to her house, I wore one of them. She said, "Oh, you didn't like the other one." No, that didn't really happen. Don't believe that. So, yeah, I know that I'm guilty. And okay, yeah, I know God forgives because I've read that in the book before. But what if I'm having trouble believing it about myself because I don't feel worthy? And actually, for those of us who do feel that way, we're in pretty good company. Psalm 77, 8, you know what? I have a PowerPoint. I do. Okay. Okay, thank you. So let's go to the slide. Well. I don't see it.
How many Jews does it take to find a clicker?
Yeah.
I told you the rapture occurred.
It did. Oh, thank you.
Oh, okay. But
So,
the clicker is gone.
Psalm 77, 8 through 11. Will the Lord reject forever and never again show favor? And in my mind, when I read that, I think, yeah, probably in my case. Has his faithfulness disappeared forever? Not to everybody else, but I'm the Rodney Dangerfield in the Messianic world. Will his promise be unfulfilled for all time? And about that time, my heart starts breaking. Has God forgotten how to pity? Has he in anger stifled his compassion? Selah. Yeah, I don't want to stop and think about it because it hurts. And I said, it is my fault that the right hand of the Most High has changed. Oh my gosh. Okay, I lied. How many of you have ever felt that way? Okay, a few people. I remember one time after we had moved back to Lufkin, Apple Springs from Houston, we were going through a particularly difficult time with the congregation. And I was outside. Now, we live out in the middle of nowhere. I was out at the gate to my place. I was just hanging over it, and I was so downcast. And I mean, I just, at the top of my voice, yelled out, "God, where are you?" And very quietly, I heard, "Where were you when you called to me?" And again, it's like, oh, that hurts. So in my mind, I've disqualified myself. And in my shame, I wonder, will God really forgive me? And I wonder, am I still going to get to be a part of the bride because I know what an idiot I've been? And then we read about the 13 attributes, Exodus 34, 6 and 7. And I think, okay, that's after the golden calf. So yeah, God has forgiven Israel, but yeah, that was Israel. Israel accepted his betrothal, and they were unfaithful. Then Adonai passed before him and proclaimed, Adonai, Adonai, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness and truth, showing mercy to 1,000 generations, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. Yeah. Yet, by no means leaving the guilty unpunished, but bringing the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. Yeah, the guilty don't go unpunished. My sweetheart and I were in our living room one time reading the book of Isaiah. Now, I was raised in a denominational church, which will go unnamed. They do a really good job of teaching the gospel. They don't do a good job of discipleship. And we were reading in the book of Isaiah, and I got mad. I said, Oh, thank you. I said, why have I never been taught this before? Why? Grew up in church. My father was a deacon in church, went to Sunday school, all this kind of stuff. Why have I never seen this? And in my heart I heard, and what will your children say? Why did he never teach us this? I'm telling you, I've got to be Jewish somewhere in my life. This guilt thing follows me everywhere. So, yeah, Moses came down from Sinai. He smashed the tablets, and that was an act of mercy. You know why it was an act of mercy? Because it was like saying, you're not entering into covenant in this condition. So you got to wait. The guilty don't go unpunished. Idolatry and adultery are equated in Scripture, and it boils down to this. It boils down to being unfaithful, and that breeds insecurity. Being unfaithful breeds insecurity. It's like, God, I got this. I don't need you. I can do this on my own. And then I fall, and it's like, uh-oh. Well, the aftermath of sin brings great angst, and we may fear the possibility of rejection and being cast out. It's like, I kind of feel like my lamp is empty, and I might miss the wedding. Well, I want to talk about wedding and marriage for a second. The Torah has a lot to say about it. Deuteronomy 22, 13, and 14. If a man marries a woman, has sexual relations with her, and then, having come to dislike her, brings a wanton accusation against her and defames her character by saying, I married this woman, but when I approached her, I found that she was not a virgin. And what happens if the charge was substantiated by evidence? Somebody tell me, what happened? What happened? Taken to her father's home and stoned to death. Well, very serious accusation, very serious matter. And it didn't take long at Sinai for the people of Israel to commit adultery. And we find out that the bride was impure. Is the bride pure today? Anybody? Somebody? Somebody? No, the bride's not pure today. Still waiting. Now, there is a very unusual word. It's not that unusual. The word for virgin is betula. But there's a different word that's used here, and it's really odd. The word that is used, I'm going to remember to do this. Uh-oh. I lost. Oh, here we are. There we are. The word is na'arah, okay? And you see it's up there two different ways. Na'arah with the hay on the end of it represents a girl under the age of 12. Without the hay, it represents a girl over the age of 12. And in Deuteronomy 22, it's used several times. And I believe it's used 14 times. 13 of those times it is used. Let me go open my notes, make sure that I'm saying it right. I lost my place. I do that. Yeah, it's used for 14 times, but only once with the letter hay. And it's got huge implications. The word na'arah with hay means that there is a hashkakah, the one who is the guard, the one who is watching over. And the rest of the times it's without the hay, the one who is not under protection. And the sages explained that it's that way because with the hay, without the hay, I'm sorry again. I'm tired, please forgive me. With the hay, it refers to one who is 12 and over. She started her process of becoming a woman. So why 14 times but 13 without the hay? Because it's about the need for maturity, to be ready for the groom. And the taking of the yoke of the kingdom upon ourselves is accepting the hay in our lives. He puts his name upon us, which means we have to be responsible. We belong to him, but we still have to wait for the wedding to come. And again, waiting is not that easy. So I'm going to share with you, tonight we're talking about the night of the bride. How many of you have heard of the month of the bride? There's a month of the bride. Rabbi Zalman of Lodi taught that God is closer to us during a particular month than any other. What month is it? No. It's Elul. During the month of Elul, God is closer to us than any other. He says that it's a month of immense opportunity and not one of dejection. So we think about the great love and the grace that God shows, but when we examine ourselves, are we ashamed? Despite that great love that he shows. During the month of Elul, we do what is called cheshbon hanefesh, taking stock of our souls, which I think kind of relates back to the golden calf. Moses is back up for 40 days, and he went up the second time on the first day of Elul, and he came back on Yom Kippur with the second set of tablets. So, despite Israel's rebellion, he forgave them. Can you imagine waiting 40 days a second time, and you see Moshe coming back down with 2 more tablets? You mean it's not over? You mean we're not rejected? Had to be a pretty happy time. And again, after that, that's when he gave the 13 attributes. He spoke of it to Moses. So the month of Elul is the month of the bride, looking forward to the night of the bride. And just like at Sinai, the bride is still not pure, but we wonder, what is the bridegroom going to do? Now, we know what the bridegroom's going to do. So I want to go back to the bride who was accused. Do I have it on here? Yeah. If a man marries a woman, has sexual relations with her, and then having come to dislike her, brings a wanton accusation against her, defames her character by saying, I married this woman, but when I approached her, I found she was not a virgin. This word betulim. Betulim, that's plural. Okay? So ankelos, translate that as did not find any signs of her virginity. And Targum Jonathan said, found no witnesses for her. So looking for the evidence of the innocent, the bed garment that would be stained with the blood of the innocent. So if the garment of proof was there, it was kept by the father to protect the bride. And it would have the blood of the innocent on it. During the month of Elul, we examine ourselves. Are we doing well with God? The bride's not pure. It's a problem, we know. But we also know the great news, and that is that Yeshua himself has the garment of proof, stained with his own blood, the blood of the innocent. I want to read Matthew 27:58-60. Yosef of Arimathea approached Pilate and asked for Yeshua's body, and Pilate ordered it to be given to him. Yosef took the body, wrapped it in a linen sheet, and laid it in his own tomb. And Ben was talking about the linen sheet, and I got excited when I heard him talk about that. So there's the bloody garment for witness. The bridegroom took upon himself the punishment that the bride was supposed to have. And this is a very simple message. You know, it's not theologically deep or anything, but I just wanted to do it for encouragement. And what is the sign for the month of Elul? Anybody know? It's a constellation called Betula, the Virgin. It makes me think about Abraham. God told him to count the stars. You look up in the sky and you see during the month of Elul, there's the constellation of Betula, the Virgin, the promise that restoration is coming, that despite the impurity of the bride, he is going to give it purity. And he's going to be ready for the wedding. This is the greatest love story ever. So, real quickly, I want to go back to Song of Songs. Chapter 2, verse 16. Dodi li v'ani li. My beloved is mine and I am his. And that's good. That's real good. But what does the bridegroom want? Ani ladodi v'dodi li. I am to my beloved. The difference is, the first one is just an acknowledgement. Yeah, we belong to him. The second one, that's where we take the initiative and we pursue him, and he responds in kind. It gets back to being ready to call the bridegroom home. This is the voice of the bride calling the bridegroom, because the bridegroom is faithful. And so I would like to end with this verse. Let us rejoice and be glad. Let us give him the glory, for the time has come for the wedding of the Lamb, and his bride has prepared herself. Fine linen, there it is, Ben. Fine linen, bright and clean, has been given for her to wear. So the bride has prepared herself. How does she do it? I like to go back to Matthew 5 and the Sermon on the Mount. All of these things. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the meek. The bride prepares herself in that way. And so, may it be that even when we feel discouraged and when we feel like beating ourselves up, that we remember, like Lance said earlier, the relationship is not always mountaintop relationships, nor is the relationship always, oh, woe is me, I'm so horrible. He forgives, and he says, come on and walk with me.